Hey folks, welcome in. Lobey Lynchie and Friends with me, Hank Morse. It's our podcast live from George Gray's Lexington Toyota, 409 Mass Ave, Lexington, Massachusetts. And the podcast also brought to you by Benjamin Moore and Modern Hardware, Salem Street in Medford. Gents, morning.
Hank, how are you? Bob, how are you?
All right, Michael, I was just going to relay the story that you had this morning about your pair of glasses that you couldn't see out of because they had glass stuff on.
Well, the little plastic film that's on there,
Yeah.
I was.
It's not supposed to be on
I've
there.
been squinting for weeks.
Really.
Tell me you didn't get those this morning on the way.
I did not.
You've had those for more than a day or two?
I've had them for more than maybe a month.
And he just found out they had little plastic things on them.
Well, I
They
went,
had to
I
take
went
it
over.
out.
George had a pile of napkins over here at George's Tavern.
Yeah.
George Gray's Lexington Toyota, and I'm wiping the napkin off, and I said, this little whatever everything isn't coming off. So I just tried to scratch it off with my fingernail, and lo and behold, the whole plastic thing. Then I went to the other lens, and
Where'd
there
you
you
go to
go.
college?
Wow.
I can say. Well,
You better check your iPhone.
We didn't have eyeglass cleaning at 101 at Harvard. You may have had it at Kent State, but we didn't have that available
Pretty good.
in the
That was
curriculum
good.
at
That was
Harvard.
a- That
just
was
let
an
you know.
unnecessary shot that you just
Wow.
did. But it's okay. It's,
And a Harvard guy scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Are we better looking now that
that's
your
true, but
glasses
the
have...
year before, Kent State
Got
guy
the
was the MVP.
MVP. All right, my
I
big
got
mouth.
you. All right, so.
All right, enough of that story.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, how'd they look in the bean pot, though?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Didn't, both the men and women
I know.
lost in what, double overtime?
We were number 10 in the country, I think, coming into that one. So we're focused on, right now,
Yeah.
exams must be coming up, so
Must
we're probably
be.
focused on that.
Exam-
Right, always studying during the bean pot, actually,
Yes.
those Harvard kids.
Right.
Congratulations to the Huskies of Northeastern. They won
Yeah.
the men and women's bean pot.
Great for them. Unbelievable. What a turnaround Coach Madigan's done over there. And it's great to see, anybody can win this thing every year, which is the way it should be, and the way it would. And
There was a time when Northeastern had no shot.
Yeah,
there was
exactly.
a time when
Exactly.
it was BC,
Yeah.
BU, and maybe Harvard. But
Yeah.
In the first 65 years, Northeastern had only won 4 times, and now they've rattled off 3 in a row.
Yeah, they won. Wayne Turner won like in '87, I think, with an overtime goal.
Yeah, 1980.
80? It was at
Yeah,
80?
is that great?
Well, it's right decade.
Right, they won 3 in
They're
the
making me
80s.
nervous here.
All right.
They interviewed Wayne the other day.
Yeah,
Did
well,
they?
Yeah, it was terrific. So congratulations.
Who was the Red Sox manager then?
In 1980.
Okay.
Ralph Houck.
That's possible.
Because Zim was gone in 79, right? Did Houck take over for Zimmer?
Could have been. Yep.
I like Ralph Houck.
Yeah, I know some people that didn't though. They just
No.
thought he just,
Yeah, it was
he
not-
just sort of
really-
nailed it in
really,
at
not
that
a-
stage of his career.
Not a big fan.
Yep.
Well,
Were
anyway.
you John McNamara fans?
You know what? I got along with him pretty well.
I got
actually.
along pretty well as well. Yeah, I didn't have too many problems with him.
A pretty wife. I know that blonde lady. Bob, you probably remember her.
But American Airlines.
See, I was. How did I know that?
I don't
Lynchy?
know. Why did you even bring it up?
Is that why you always get bumped up to first class on those trips out to the Celtics
You
Lakers?
know what? It's just might have been just a smile. That's
Lobel
all.
class was all a class to its own.
Stop it. Just stop it. There's no need for this.
All right, so the Red Sox have an interim manager.
This could be their first interim manager ever, right?
No, it isn't, and I'm going to play the interim
Oh,
manager
okay.
right here for you, if you'd like to hear it. You ready?
Joe Morgan?
Joe Morgan, in the summer of '88, July 14th, 1988, John McNamara was relieved of his duties, and Joe Morgan was put in as the interim manager.
Good.
And when asked, congratulations on being interim manager, I mean, we remember this response very well.
Where it came from is not in my vocabulary. All I know is I'm now the manager of the Red Sox and got to get this team rolling.
He was pretty blunt about
So he said,
what he had
the
to
word interim is not in my vocabulary. Remember that?
Yes.
So
I wouldn't even be able to spell it, really, Lynchy.
Well, you know what he did? He ripped off 12 wins in a row and 19 out of 20. And after the first 6 wins, Lou Gorman came in and stripped the interim title away from him and made him the permanent manager. When they won 12 in a row, they were like a half a game out of first. They won the American League East, and they went to the playoffs. They played
Morgan Magic.
Morgan Magic. And then he took them to the playoffs in 1990. And then 91, they finished second. And after the season, they fired him.
Gene Yockey fired him.
And you know who they replaced him with? Butch Hobson. Remember that disaster?
Yes, I do.
Clell Laverne.
Remember that disaster?
Yeah,
we were down in
I
spring
know,
training,
right.
and Butch is Clemens is jogging along, and Butch goes and jogs along with him, and Clemens is wearing earphones. Didn't even acknowledge his presence. Remember that great
I
piece of video?
absolutely remember that
Yep.
great video.
So when I think of interim manager, I think of Joe Morgan, who had been in baseball for over 30 years, had managed in the minors for about 15 years, and drove what they call him, the Mass Pike or Snowplow Joe, because that's what he did in the off season, and BC guy. But
He played hockey too at BC, I
he
think,
did
too,
play
right?
hockey. He did. But when you think interim, other than Joe Morgan, I can't think of somebody that was an interim manager except Ron Roenicke, and that's the only title they had to put on him right now. And they
We're
will.
just going to wait till the Major League conducts its investigation or finishes. with
They
the
had
Red
to.
Sox.
They had to, and the Red Sox have to have some indication that Roenicke is not going to be implicated. I mean, they were in a box. They had no choice. They couldn't bring a new guy in and a new staff because these people wouldn't even find their way to JetBlue Park, let alone be running a baseball camp. So they had to take. Time was of such the essence, that they had to put Roenicke in there. Now, if this report comes out and he's complicit with what happened or allegedly happened with Alex Cora, they got a big problem. But I think that they probably interviewed him and then had somebody at Major League Baseball saying, please tell me that Ron Roenicke will not have any stains on him when this report comes out, because we need a manager ASAP. We're one of your most important franchises, and we probably are garnering the most attention of any camp in Major League training camp this spring. Would you agree?
Yes, of course I would agree with you. And on that question, I would simply ask another. Is it true that Ron Roenicke knew nothing of what Alex Cora was doing with his own version of sign stealing as a member of the Red Sox?
I think it's impossible to.
Impossible.
The
If
dugout,
the players all knew, then
yeah, the dugout's a small area. Clubhouses are small areas. It's not like you work in the Hancock building and Roenicke's on the 21st floor and Alex Cora
so how
is on the
guilty
second
do you
floor.
have to be to not be named permanent manager of the Red Sox? How much do you have to not know when you're Ron Roenicke about what went on here?
Well, it cost A.J. Hinch his job in Houston. He said, I didn't do it, but I knew about it and I didn't say anything. So Roenicke wasn't part of it, but if he knew it and didn't tell anybody about it, what's the difference between Roenicke and A.J. Hinch?
Well, the owner fired.
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
but he was aware, but didn't do anything. So is it possible?
But he also wasn't the manager. Where A.J. Hinch was. Roenicke wasn't the manager, he was the bench coach.
Yeah.
Although they got the bench coach with the Astros, mastermind. And how about the new twist, too, that it was really an intern in the front office that really came out
I saw
with
that. I saw that, but
the way they devised it.
They interviewed 65 people, and all of them, the finger pointed towards Alex Cora.
Oh, yeah, I'm
in
sure.
the Houston investigation. Now I don't know how many people are going to be investigated. This thing is supposed to be done by the time camp open, and we're taping the show on Wednesday, and camp opened this morning. So I got to think it's coming pretty soon. But
So is he, if they leave him with the interim tag, do you think he's just going to be a coat holder for Alex Cora to come back?
well, the quote was by Brian O'Halloran, we're going to revisit the permanency of Ron Roenicke's appointment after the Major League investigation is through. Revisit the permanency of his appointment.
So if he's clear by the investigation, he becomes the regular manager, not the interim. So that's obvious to me.
The interim tag gets removed.
Plus, I read it a little differently. I read it if they suspend Cora for 1 year, he keeps the interim tag. If it's a 2-year suspension or more, because he possibly was involved in 2 different organizations, then maybe they remove that tag. What do you think about that?
I agree with you, Hank. I think that's an excellent point. I think this isn't just the word permanency wasn't thrown in there just in case everything turns out all right. It's just in case things don't turn out all right as well.
How much tolerance do you think the fans will have this year after this spring? I mean, I think they better get it right on the field, or if they don't, it's going to be a long summer.
They better come out of the chute right away. And this poor guy Verdugo in right field is going to have so much scrutiny. Everything he does is going to be, under the microscope. And I think they're going to be okay. They still got a pretty darn good team.
I mean, I always thought that Bogarts was their best player anyway,
Yeah.
but I just, to say that he's better than Betts, I don't know. Betts has just was so spectacular
For those of you who've been under a rock or away, or possibly in Europe or somewhere else, the Red Sox traded Mookie Betts and David Price to the Dodgers.
Finally.
In a multi-team deal that kind of went south, and then they had to revise it a little bit. Can you remember the last time the Red Sox had a five-tool player like Mookie Betts? I mean, even Ted Williams, was Ted Williams a five-tool player or a four-tool player? Could he run like Mookie? Probably not.
No, he cannot run like Mookie.
Is he the best five-tool player in Red Sox history?
Well, it's hard to say, Hank, and we haven't seen Tris Speaker in a long time. There might have been others. I don't know.
Okay, how about since 1975?
I don't know, Nomar was a pretty good five-tool player. He was a 30-30 guy one year, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's legitimate. You know, as unlikable as he was, you'd have to give him credit for being close to that five-tool mark. And I guess when you say five-tool, you might as well explain what that means. I think in terms of power, average, speed, arm, or in defense.
Defense,
whatever,
yeah.
Those are. I don't know what else we'd throw in there, but I think that's pretty much it.
Got it all.
Lynn didn't run. He didn't have to run. He could hit with power. He could play defense. I'm not sure running was his strength. He could run if he had to. Rice became a good defensive player. Was more of a DH when he first came up.
Yeah,
he has
he never
playing
had a
left
great
field.
deal of speed or either.
Dewey didn't steal a lot of bases.
No, not really.
No.
Good base runner, but not fast.
Yeah, so most of your base stealers didn't have the other two. Remy was a great base stealer. Burleson, pretty good base stealer. But I'd have to say that Mookie's the guy.
Would you have to think that they had such an indication that he wasn't going to? There was no way he was coming back here.
This process has been going on for a couple of years. I know it was well before spring training. This time last year, they were trying to get him to sign, and the timing worked out great for him because he just sat there and he watched Manny Machado break the bank, Bryce Harper break the bank, and then the Angels grab Trout and lock him up higher than anybody else before he even got close to free agency. So Betts is sitting back and just saying, my ship is coming in, babe, and I don't care what you throw at me, it's coming in, and I'm going to sit here and wait for it. And there's not going to be anybody on that ship with coronavirus. Trust me.
He can't, and you can't fault him at all because it's the way the system broke and the way he broke with it. And to get $27 million for his last year without any hangover,
hard to believe.
Hard to believe. So, I guess we'll find out how good he is because I think the pressure will be on at some degree
in L.A.
With the Dodgers and
I mean, the Dodgers need to. They've been in the World Series. They were in 2 years in a row. They weren't in last year. The Nationals were in, but they're a high expectations. You can say all you want about it's laid back out there and everything, but there's high expectations out in LA for the Dodgers. They're expected to win. They spend a lot of money. There's a lot of splash out there, and I think that they're going to be there'll be high expectations for them.
I think for them to move Betts to the National League was also a kind of a gift to Red Sox fans, so you don't have to see him every other month here.
Right.
Can you imagine him in pinstripes, Bob?
Yes, I can, actually. We were talking about that after this year, after he becomes a free agent.
Sure.
Anything's possible.
Except they got Aaron Judge in right field. But they can find a place for him.
I think so.
Yeah, I think they can find a place for him.
We got a Jeter now.
This is the 100th anniversary.
Jeter. Okay, it's Jeter Downs. Okay. Is it Down or Downs?
Downs.
Downs.
Named after Derek.
We have a Jeter. Why not?
That's our producer, Taylor Viles, in the background, providing us with information we just didn't have.
That's what he's here for.
That's right. LaSalle University.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
That and then 6-week Christmas break.
So again,
finally back to school, Taylor? It's February, back to school. Good. Yeah.
What have we not talked about that will be the biggest story of the year?
Well,
Chaim Bloom. You've met Chaim Bloom.
Chaim. The C is silent. Chaim. H-I.
I apologize.
Chaim, like H-I and then M. Chaim.
Chaim Bloom. And he contradicted himself a little bit in his press conference the other day, saying, we have to prioritize talent on this team. And 4 or 5 minutes later, he said, well, this year we're probably not going to be as good as we were last year, but I think we're talented enough to win.
Well, let me ask, the only way I can explain it is this way. He's had to give this same speech 100 times, and he's never while running Tampa Bay, because they come up with some great young talent, and when these people get close to free agency down there, they have to trade them away because they can't pay them. So he has to explain to the 4 people who show up in the media down in Tampa all the time, why do we have to get rid of David Price? Why do we have to get rid of who's the great third baseman that has the same name, Evan Longoria? Why do we have to get rid of our center fielder, Kiermaier? Why do we have to get rid of? And so it went on and on. B.J. Lofton, the center fielder, blah, 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 blah. It went on and on and on. So I think that he's a smart guy, even though he went to Yale. He's got a lot thrown at him. He's probably had more thrown at him in his first 6 weeks on the job here than he did in maybe the last 5 years that he was in Tampa. Would you agree?
Of course, I absolutely agree. And although you got to admit the Tampa Bay situation created its own problems, their own set of problems. Trying to be competitive, and look where they are now.
And they
look
are.
where they are now. Right, they're some people have put them higher than the Red Sox in terms of.
Well, they made the playoffs last year.
Hello.
Yeah, and the Red Sox didn't.
Right.
So he's got
full bloom.
Yeah, full bloom. He's got a lot on his plate. I mean, just think in spring training, he had to go. His first day down there, he comes walking in with a bunch of bags, and Johnny Miller is the first guy to greet him. And he says, "Well, do you have any announcements today?" Well, we'll see. So his first announcement was that yes, the trade has gone through, because when he showed up at spring training, the trade wasn't official. Then he's got to name a new manager. Then he's going to have to answer questions about when the investigation comes out. And this is all before the first official workout of the full squad workout, which is on Monday the 17th for the Red Sox. So, yeah, this is He got hit hard and fast with a lot of issues.
There was a fair amount of speculation, Mike and Hank, that the Red Sox were so spooked by the reaction of their fan base and the media locally on the trade that they just decided to pull it back and try to get it canceled. It was, I have to admit that I was on that train for a while. That the Red Sox just had to figure out a way to renege on.
So you didn't think it was about the medical report of one of the added players?
No, I didn't at some point. I thought that the Red Sox felt the pressure big time and had to pull back. I maybe will come to the realization that we'll never know whether that was the case or not. But I suppose it would have been pretty easy to cancel that trade if they got to that point. I'm on the fence on that one.
Would they have gotten more waiting to the trade deadline?
I don't. They would have. Who knows? That's one of the gambles you take. Could have gotten less. Could have gotten more. But you just don't know. But feel free to agree or disagree. I thought for a while it was definitely a possibility that could happen.
So they were having second thoughts, and then they wanted Betts and Price to come back and put a Red Sox uniform on and play for them this year. Price now would have 3 more years, so he did not have to. He isn't walking away, but Betts could walk away. So you can't. I can't think in my. I think the only thing that they had second thoughts about were, we need to get more in return. Not so much I want.
I think they came to the conclusion because I think a lot of the reaction from baseball.
You don't think they wanted to negate the deal, do you?
I do.
Really?
There was a part of me that did, and I'm probably wrong on that.
No,
but it was just one of those fan theories, because I think it was the opportunity was there. The gift horse showed up. If you want to look a gift horse in the mouth, it was right in front of you. You could have reneged on the deal because of some bogus injury. But the reality was, although the fans were certainly down on trading Mookie Betts, I think that they've come to realize it had to happen. And as best as anybody's been able to describe the luxury tax, which nobody wants to hear about, it had to happen. There was no really other options for the Red Sox other than to make that deal. And I know
because they're basically handcuffed by some other contracts, correct?
That and the whole thing plays into the luxury tax, and it's way beyond the. I'm not saying the intelligence, but the interest of fans to get into that kind of an argument, because they're not interested in that kind of an argument. They want to see their best ball players out on the field, and they had one of the best players they've ever had out on the field, and they traded him.
And it's hard to believe that argument, too, when San Diego can pay the kind of money they paid for Manny Machado. A small market team. They don't have the deep pockets like the Red Sox have.
Well, it's been more than one contract like Manny Machado here in Boston, you can go right down the list and see.
You go all the way back to Flynn, Fisk, and Burleson. Those are three big contracts. I know we talked about it on the last show.
Right.
They wound up. Fisk was declared a free agent, but Burleson and Lynn were both traded to the Angels, and there was kind of outrage up here, and that set us up for a little era of mediocrity. The Gary Allensons behind the plate instead of Fisk, the Gary Hancock in center field instead of Fred Lynn, Glenn Hoffman at shortstop instead of Rick Burleson. First baseman is Dave Stapleton instead of so-and-so. And those, it was kind of like mediocre, blah, vanilla ice cream years until Clemens and Hurst and all those guys came along and turned things around. So I think that's what Red Sox fans were fearing. I know there aren't a lot of them old enough to remember like we are. However, I don't think this team's going to be that bad. I think one of the biggest losses you have to take a look at is 2 of the 5 starting pitchers, Porcello and David Price. I mean, these guys, had some pretty good years for the Red Sox, and they gave him a lot of innings. Although Price, 2 of the last 3 years, his win total was 7-5 last year, then 16-7 the year they won it, but the year before 6-3 and 17-9.
What do you average? 11 wins a season.
He had.
He was just a cranky person.
He was, yeah.
I mean, the Eckersley
But
thing and just
the Eckersley thing was awful. I think his reputation with the media and the fans was horrendous because Eckersley, you just don't do what you did to Dennis Eckersley. But I'm told that in the clubhouse, he was liked and respected by his teammates.
I heard that too.
Very much so. And I think he got a lot of respect from his teammates and from the fans when he went into Houston in game number 5 and was the man to get the win, to get them into the World Series. And, he was the guy that pitched some key innings against the Dodgers in the World Series. And I think that endeared him. Winning cures a lot of ills.
But before I ask you about Tom Brady, I want to ask you this about
Tom Brady.
Yeah, I know. Where did he come in? I'm sorry. We're talking about superstars.
Well, I know he was drafted as a catcher. Do you think he might be in
by
their
the
plans?
Expos.
Well, that was right. So here's by the Expos. Good one.
He could have been catching Pedro.
Could have been.
How about that? Huh? How's that for a battery?
Good one.
But Dan Duquette couldn't get him signed.
Look, Duquette, who we all agreed should get a ring for 2004, but that's another story for another time. But I just want to quickly point out that while we haven't talked about Brady, the one thing you did bring up on Joe Morgan that I was wanting to say, but basically never got a chance. Not because you guys were talking, but
I dominated?
well, yeah, kind of. It was
Right.
You were on
I
top
apologize.
of things. No, don't apologize.
I'm not going to talk for the next 5 minutes.
Oh, stop it.
I always enjoy what
Stop
Lynchie has to
being
say
a
myself.
whiny Harvardite. Okay, Joe Morgan told me in his backyard, sitting there for an interview, which was he was a great interview, by the way.
On his deck. Was his deck
On
or
his
back?
backyard. It was just 2
Backyard.
chairs in his backyard.
Yeah. He was a great, and you could just pull up. Wait, can I talk, Hank, or should I?
Hold on.
No,
Give him another 30 seconds.
no.
I'm sorry.
Well,
The gentleman from Kent State and
say-
Apple Creek.
Say go.
Go.
He mentioned in that article that how much time do I have left?
Keep going.
He mentioned
I'm not talking.
he mentioned in that article.
You're not going to be like Andrew Yang, are you? So you're going to pull out of this thing before it's
Are we
over?
on video here?
Yes.
So I
Yes,
can't,
we are.
So I can't give you the
No.
figure I want to give you.
No.
Gene Yawkey, distraught over the fact that she was responsible for having fired him, gave him a check for $80,000.
I remember that. Oh,
Damn it! Don't I ever get something to say on this show?
Were you with him when he got the check?
No, I just was with him when he told the story. Oh, apparently it wasn't only me that he told the story to. I remember that. Okay. Mike?
I thought it was 50,000. His salary was like 25,000 a year or something like that. It was-
Back to the gentleman from Apple Creek.
Now, I'll yield. I'll yield.
He was one of the best managers the Red Sox had, and they
Like a
finished.
baseball guy.
Yeah, baseball guy, 6'2" and even. Remember that saying he used
Yes,
to have
I
all
do.
the time?
Oh, wait a
6'2".
minute. I knew that.
You knew that. Remember when he lifted Rice for a pinch hitter, and Rice grabbed him by the uniform in the runway
Yeah.
and threw him
He
against the
could be
wall?
kind of cantankerous, that Jim Rice.
Pretty good, Hank. Well, okay, I'm really sorry I brought up that piece of information.
No, you know what? I enjoy hearing it
Yeah.
from you.
You didn't hear that story, have you?
I had never heard that before.
You know what? You think I was talking to Hank, Mike. You don't have to nod your head yes. Like I was talking to Hank. Now, when did you hear the story? The last time I told it. Just say something nice.
No, I was doing some research last night, and in my notebook here, and I actually read that story that somebody wrote. Gordon Eads might have written it, and I thought it said 50,000, but that's okay. What's with inflation, it probably would be 80,000 now.
You're right.
Well, why would I say he said 80 when it was 50? I could be wrong. That's one reason.
Well, you got the scoop then, is what I'm saying. This is back in 1991.
Why is it just...
When Lynchie was in his yard, he had a deck. When Mike was there.
I thought he had a deck, man. He took you
well,
to the backyard. But the people he really liked, he took in the backyard. The people he wanted to get in and out of his house, he just put on the deck.
Oh,
and said,
Robert.
Get out of here.
All right. What about...
But to this day, he'll surprise you and come up out of nowhere. He'll be at some event.
No,
and,
he will, right.
He says,
You know what's crazy about the Morgan Magic thing?
What?
That 12 games in a row, if they win to start the second half of that season, 1988, correct?
88.
That 13th day,
It rained.
Red Sox are the hottest thing in America. The big story, the lead, Joe Morgan, Morgan Magic, he was up at the Colonial in Linfield for the Jimmy Fund golf tournament benefit. Shows you how different times are. That wouldn't happen today, but that was the type of guy he was.
Why would that not happen today?
Because I just think that the self-importance of not just the Red Sox, but athletes in general.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to...
Well, I think that in those days, he could go up there, and the only people that would know he's going to be there are the people that were in the tournament. And I think today, the whole world would know, and like if Alex Cora went up there, let's say that Belichick's going up to play a round of golf at Colonial, which is now the Linfield Market, but let's say he was going to play...
You saying it doesn't exist anymore?
Doesn't exist, the Colonial Country
What a
Club.
shame.
I know. And we used to drive my father go to hole-in-one there one time. Every time we went down 128, the hole was right on 128.
Oh, that's the fifth hole.
Yeah.
Now it's a Boston Sports Club.
Did
But
you ever get a hole-in-one?
never got one. Never got one.
Really?
Have you?
Yes, I did.
Really? Where?
McGolf,
I know.
109 in
Here's what
Dedham.
here's what I said. We played golf in the shot.
Yes, we did. And
Okay, we were on the 16th hole, which was a par 5. And Mike hit a really good drive up the right side. And he took his driver, didn't put it in the bag, he kept it out of the bag, and off the deck, he hit his driver onto the green. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's fair, okay? So the next hole, this is why we're getting to your story first, but you hit the driver, number 2 shot, second shot onto the green, fine. The next hole, that was a par 4. I made a mistake. It's not
Before
a
there's a
par
little
5.
creek in it.
Yeah, creek in front, but it was, you don't usually hit a driver off the deck, but he did it.
I could
It was
hit that
great.
one.
You did, you hit a great, anyway, the next hole was the hole-in-one hole. I skipped it off the water. It was a 7-iron.
Oh, the par 370 going back to the road
Yes,
before you
going
cross
back
over.
to the road.
Yeah.
And I had 2 guys I was playing with. I skipped it off the water. One,
Diego and who else?
no, what, Diego. Our good friend
Was he
Diego
your
Messina.
hairdresser?
The hairdresser, yeah,
Yeah.
Diego the hairdresser. Skipped it off, one hop on the green, rolled in, saw it all the way.
Did you see it all the way?
Saw it all the way.
Wow.
Did you buy the clubhouse around?
I don't know, I did not.
He was
I
on
might
his-
have, who knows?
That's pretty good. I have never had a hole-in-one. I hit the pin once up at Indian Ridge where I play, and hit the pin, and the ball rolled like 50 feet backwards, and I wound up getting a 4. And I came so
It
close.
happens.
to
That's
get
what you aimed at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aimed
It
at the
was,
pin, but never got one. That's
No, it's just
It's
a
a
bogey.
better,
That's not
it's a
bad.
better story, actually, skipping it in off the water.
it
It
is.
is a better story. It's not like
It
it's,
is.
there was no skill involved whatsoever.
No, that's a hard hole. It's protected with bunkers and water, and it looks.
No, it's not an easy hole
yeah,
to hit,
it looks.
but,
You look at it from
it's
the
easier
tee.
if you skip it in off the water. You'll find, whatever.
The one thing, I don't know if people know,
Those floatable golf balls you.
Oh, that's pretty good.
how many, at one time, what was the most sets of golf clubs that you owned at one time? Because I have a number in my head that I was told at one
Maybe I had 5.
5.
What's wrong with that?
I thought at one time, weren't you the owner of 17 sets of golf clubs at one time?
That's crazy. Where did you hear that?
You told me that,
I did.
yes. We were down at
Well, it
TPC
must-
Boston.
Must be true.
Yeah. Actually, the nice thing was you did give me a nice set of tight lies.
Did I?
Yeah.
Can I have them back?
Yeah, nope. I sold them at a yard sale for $25.
Remember the Tucker Anthony golf?
Yes.
They would give you a set of clubs for playing. They
Really?
give you a bag, a set of
It was
clubs,
the greatest.
clothing. Like every day, it was like a 3-day tournament, so you get 3 different pairs of pants, shirt, hat, vest, windbreaker,
It was
Stay at the Ridge Club, right?
greatest gift boondoggle ever.
Of all time.
I told that story driving back with Fisk and Orr.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did.
Yeah, pretty
Should I
good.
tell it again?
Well, tell it again in case somebody. I love that story. It's a great story.
Driving back from Tucker Anthony going to Nishotic because there was another Pro-Am that day back in Nishotic with the senior Pro-Am. So we're driving back and we're just right past Braintree and getting on 128. And I simply say, this has been a long drive from Orr's club. It was at his club, right?
Is it the Ridge Club?
The Ridge Club. And so
Sandwich.
I said, what happened? What do you think would happen? And I don't, talking to these two guys, Fisk and Orr, and I'm driving. I said, what do you think would happen if, sadly, we veered off the road and the three of us were killed? What would be the headline in the Herald tomorrow? And Orr said, well, one thing for sure, you're not going to be in it. And Fisk said, well, you probably wouldn't even make the story. So that was.
Or and two other guys.
Right. So that was.
Or a former Red Sox player and
Right.
another guy.
Right.
How
and
is
the
your friend
driver.
Carlton Fisk, by the way, Bob?
How much what?
How is your friend Carlton?
I haven't talked to him in a long time, actually. So ever since Mike's, badmouthed him on the
How
show.
about you, Lynchie?
He has. Believe me, I've talked to him since Lynchie has.
Do you ever think we could have like a reconciliation? I mean, there might.
I think it's not worth it.
I mean, you probably have some relationships that are good relationships now.
So we could trade off relationships that didn't work for me.
Yeah, he could help you out.
Yeah, well, we'll have to think about
But
that.
I don't think he actually remembers. And
So, I would say that I would.
Yeah.
I would not expect them or people that I didn't get along with would remember, but what difference?
So you think you think it was only in your head and not in
I
theirs?
think it was much more in my head. It was much more in the head of any in the media on that side because you're just much more sensitive about what people thought. I think the players.
I bet you Bill Buckner remembers.
Well, we had that conversation earlier.
All right, you brought up Tom Brady's name.
Thank
and we know that we won't know the outrage of Red Sox fans until the home opener is April 2nd and beyond. If they start going south and it's they're lousy because they traded away Mookie Betts and blah 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 blah. With Mookie last year they didn't make the playoffs. Everyone keep that in mind. But what is obviously 2 weeks before the home opener, April 7th, is March 17th, the day that Brady becomes a free agent. Robert Kraft said this week we thought it was a good idea to let him test free agency. I don't understand what that was all about. Why is that a good thing? Why?
Maybe he thought of it. Maybe he wanted to take credit for Brady testing free agency. Doesn't that sound like it to you? We thought it was a good idea for Brady to test free agency. Well, why else would you say that?
So maybe he finds out that there's no place like home?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Do you think Robert Kraft is calling the other owners,
I know.
colluding with the other owners, going, "Hey, you better not try and sign this guy"?
Well, if he's, I don't think Robert has a great deal of popularity among his co-owners, and I think if he says that, that'll rev them up to try to sign him.
Clearly.
Can you imagine if he ended up with Mookie out in L.A.?
Why? I think that's possible.
I think it's 50-50 right now. The Chargers.
Mike's probably right. I mean,
50-50.
Philip Rivers gone, right?
Well, he's
Officially gone.
Gone where? Does that make the big trade? Brady for Rivers. Brady goes to L.A. And the Chargers, and Rivers comes here. How about that?
Not out of the realm of possibility.
50-50. Let's just leave it at that. 50-50.
There was a story of Michael Irvin that said that the Cowboys might trade Dak Prescott and Brady could sign there. The Cowboys immediately denied that.
Where would you want to play if you were Brady? I mean, seriously. I mean, it's okay. I know it might be a really unfair question, but on the other hand, if you had a choice now, and you obviously do, where would you want to play? Do you want to play in L.A.? Want to play in Dallas? You want to play here? Blah, blah, blah. L.A., Las Vegas, you name it.
I would go to Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's
what I would do. I think the Chargers have no chance of winning. I think that the Cowboys have a weak offensive line, and he needs protection. His best protection is probably here in New England. But something new, Las Vegas, just the center of attention, and I think that it would be a interesting place for him to play.
I think plus it's an amazingly viable market. If you wanted to market TB12 or whatever you want
Yeah.
to do there, plus you could play golf at any wind course that you want to play at.
Not to mention maybe the allure of Las Vegas for his wife. Star-studded
This is true. But then,
supermodel.
then you have to balance that against, it's close to LA. I mean, it's a 1 hour plane ride or drive through the desert. The other thing though still is this, I can't get this Chargers thing out of my head. It's just about the new stadium and right next to the LA Forum, by the way. I saw an aerial view of it yesterday under
Really?
construction. Yeah, it's right across the street from the fabulous Forum, which looks like it's about ready to crumble. And that looked like the seventh wonder of the world to us in the 80s. Didn't it, when you pulled into that parking lot?
Fantastic building.
Yeah, it just looked
Summer
like,
Olympics were there.
looked like something out of Roman
No, it
times,
was-
right? Yeah,
right. It was
it was
It was
spectacular.
remarkable. Well,
Um,
anyway, that makes a lot of sense, Mike. Really,
The Chargers thing.
the Chargers thing.
It just does.
Brady for Rivers.
Yeah, have Rivers wind up here. A lot of people think Rivers is going to go to Tampa Bay, but then you got to get rid of what's his name from Florida State, and
Well, he moved his 89 kids and his wife down to Florida, right?
I know.
He's got that gigantic family.
10, I think. 10, I think.
Really?
10 kids?
Yeah, so they're in Florida right now. The Dolphins say they want to go with Fitzy again next year.
Harvard. There you
Oh
go.
my God! Why?
The tight end for the Tampa Bay is a Cameron Brayton, is another Harvard guy. So
Is he not a Harvard guy?
is a Harvard guy.
Oh.
Yeah. So I still think I can't get the Chargers out of my head.
You can't get the Harvard guy out of your head.
No, they keep popping up. It's inescapable. But
The Harvard guys must negotiate their own contracts, right?
They have-
They're smart.
When did they become a football factory? Really? Was
After-
it when you were playing, or when after you were playing?
we had on my team we had
Oh, come on.
2 guys who played in the NFL for a long. Pat McAnally played with the Bengals.
Okay, got that right.
Dan Jiggets played with the Chicago
that,
Bears. Dan was in my class. He was the captain of our team my senior year. McAnally was a year ahead of me.
Any Supreme Court justices or anything?
Yeah, matter of fact, John Roberts, the Supreme Court Justice, was a classmate of mine, class of '76. And when he got appointed, they sent me home from the station to get my yearbook, to get a picture of him. So no one had a picture of him. And we had a John Roberts on the football team, but it wasn't the same.
Was that-
It wasn't. So I said, John Roberts, the
Did
Chief
you,
Justice of the Supreme Court?
So did WCVB put up that John Roberts on the football team and say it was him?
No, we put the correct one up. We put the correct one up.
But I did this with Alice Cook when she had her baby. She had a baby, okay, Alice Cook was on our staff.
Yes.
I went into the newsroom and asked somebody if they have a picture of her baby. Of course, they all look alike, right?
So you put any baby up?
Yeah, I don't know whose baby it was, but I put it on.
On purpose?
Yeah, of course.
What
I
did
knew, I knew it wasn't Alice's baby, but it was. They all look alike, don't they? How would
They do.
They have that
all
little
look
hat
alike.
with the pink and blue stripe on.
So they all look alike, and
They all look the
that
same.
baby made television, and I just said it was Alice Cook just had a baby. She's adorable, and that was that. So then here's the picture, except it belonged to one of our writers. I'm not. Was that a wrong thing to do?
No.
No.
I had a similar experience when my youngest daughter, Katie, was born. She was born at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't have a name for her. So Mike Dowling, it was either going to be Megan or Casey, but somewhere in the neighborhood they named their baby Casey. So anyway, it was like 5:45, and Mike Dowling was filling in for me that day. He said, "Hey, we want to put the news of the baby on the air. What's the baby's name?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, quick, I'm going on the air." I said, "Katie."
Done.
Done.
Really, done.
And that's her name. And I said, "How do you spell it?" I go Katey, which nobody spelled. I figured if it was Katey, it'd be like Katy, Texas. But I was worried that
No, that's fair,
because she was born in '88, right through the
Right,
the
no,
Clemens
very
years, right?
fair. That would be.
So I
People
said-
say, "What the hell's
I
wrong
said,
with
this
you?"
will be it. So Dowling goes on there, "Hey, congratulations, the Lynches have a new baby, and her name is Katie Elizabeth Lynch."
That isn't how your wife found out, was it?
I think it was. So you get the fake baby picture, I get the
good.
fake baby name.
That's
And
really.
poor Katie,
It's a good one.
31 and a half years later.
Nobody
is-
can spell her name.
Yeah, nobody's that. She hated every time you go to buy those license plates, or the hats with your name on. Katie is always Katie.
Yeah.
And, so she never could get one with her name on it because it was
But
always.
your father, her father was just, was not thinking.
You didn't have one of the prisoners make one back then? You didn't have any contacts?
And his Molly, another one. This is daughter number 2. She's teaching school.
Molleigh.
Yeah, she wanted to change it to Mollie. She's asking me. She left her yogurt in the refrigerator. She's teaching school in Winchester and wants me to bring it down to her. And if this podcast started on time, I'd probably be,
I was here. Who was here when you walked in?
Well, let's wrap it up then. On that note, live from George Gray's Lexington Toyota, 409 Mass Ave.
Thanks, Taylor.
LexingtonToyota.com.
Thanks, George.
Taylor Great, George
Welcome.
Gray, Bob, Mike, Hank, and by the way, they want to see you down at Modern Hardware for some more of that Benjamin Moore paint. Go down and see George and David.
Paint by numbers, Mike.
Yep.
I need my house painted. So actually, my house painter originally is from Medford too, and he probably buys his paint there.
Is that Lou and Tapa?
No, it's Nick.
Oh, Nick.
Nick's painting.
Yeah, I know Nick.
Nick the Painter, like Andre the Giant.
Right.
I just call him Nick. The is his middle name. Paint is his
Hang
last
in there,
name.
fans. We'll be done in just a second.
All right.
Molly, I'm coming with your yogurt.
All right.
This is Molly.